Happy 4th of July, 2018, everybody. This is your host, Jonathan Frederick. I'm here today launching up another, as requested, bonus episode midweek. Again, I'm going to stick with the commitment to posting one episode per week on Mondays, but be on the lookout for bonus episodes. I'm not going to commit to them because I don't want to promise something I can't deliver on. However, this is not the first time I'm posting a midweek bonus episode, as you know, if you've been following along with the show. So, stay tuned. Keep an eye on the updates, and you may notice quite a bit of midweek bonus episodes. Hope you enjoy them. They're full content episodes, originally planned to launch on Monday mornings, but per the requests, I want to deliver you guys what you're asking for. Shout out to Paul P. from New Jersey. Paul, you know who you are. You gave me some awesome feedback, brother, so I appreciate you letting me know if I post more episodes, you'll definitely listen. So this episode I am dedicating to you, so to speak, and I hope you guys all enjoy it. Again, shout out to you guys. The reviews are coming in hot and getting some good feedback where I can improve, how I can make the show better. So also, if you have any feedback for me directly, feel free to email me at jonathan@thehearthealthyhustle.com. Also, you can check out the show notes and resources on our website, thehearthealthyhustle.com. I'm doing this intro pre the actual intro because I wanted to explain something about this episode. Upon recording, something happened with the software. So you'll notice Michael, our guest today, it seems like he is speaking on top of while I'm still speaking, and it's not that he interrupted or anything. It's actually the nature of how the audio was recorded on my end in error. But to avoid having to redo the entire interview, I went ahead and salvaged the audio as best I could. And I think it's still pleasurable to listen to outside of the occasional fast-paced answers to the questions. You'll notice there's very little space between some of the questions and Michael's answering. So before you get annoyed and say, man, this guy's rude and interrupts a lot, he's not at all. He's actually a very calm, very cool and collected individual. So I just wanted to preface the episode with that. Also, I hope you guys are having an epic 4th of July. Stay safe, drive safe, have fun, enjoy the day. And hopefully whatever you do to celebrate today, whatever you're doing today, enjoy yourself and crack open a single cold one for me. And we can enjoy that together and toast to 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. And I just excited to share this bonus episode. I hope you guys enjoy it. And it's just a great conversation. So stay tuned and enjoy the episode. And thank you guys for all of your support. I really appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Heart Healthy Hustle podcast show. I'm your host, Jonathan, and I am glad you're here. On this show, I talk with industry-leading experts about connecting with others, impacting your niche, and striving to live the best life possible. It's all about sparking meaningful conversations around business ownership and entrepreneurship. The Heart Healthy Hustle Show is about finding connection with proactive peers and navigating a healthy work life with full autonomy. So whether you're driving to or from work right now, exercising, eating, or just relaxing, come hang out and get ready to enjoy another inspiring episode of the Heart Healthy Hustle Show. Welcome back to the Heart Healthy Hustle podcast. We are here with a very special guest named Michael. He has a YouTube channel called Common Sense Mike. I invited Michael to come on the show with us, and the reason I asked him onto the show was because how much he's doing, offering free value.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So go ahead and give us a brief background, who you are, where you grew up, where you're currently staying.
Back in May, I turned 29. I live out here in Austin, Texas, so like I said earlier, we're in the dead of summer, and I think about 105 today, so that's really fun. Background about me. So in 2008, started my first real job at a credit union. Prior to that, I knew nothing about personal finance. I was like everyone, motivated by money. I wanted to be rich and all the stuff that I thought came along with that. But through that job, I saw firsthand just how bad most people are with money. And I learned a lot from that when it comes to handling debt and saving, investing, and trying to accumulate all the things that help us out financially. And I ultimately wanted to share that with others through my YouTube channel. So that's why I've created it. I've been doing it for a little bit over a year now. And while things are still growing slowly, they're very much growing.
So we're going to dive in here. Go ahead and share with us a favorite success quote.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope I'm not breaking any rules here. I've actually got two that I'd like to share with you. I just remember being a kid, and my father would always say, winners never quit and quitters never win. I know you've heard of that, I know, but I've always worked so hard. And it's not to say that I've succeeded and I've won everything at life, but for the things that I'm passionate about, I don't ever want to quit. I wouldn't say my YouTube channel right now is a resounding success, but every day it's growing. And if I were to quit 2 months ago because it's not where I want it to be, well, it wouldn't be where it's at today. If I quit today, it's not ever going to get where I want it to be ever. So that idea that you should never quit on what you're passionate about has always been something I want to live by. The second one, I have to be honest, I don't know who said this. I read it somewhere and it's just stuck with me forever. But it goes something like this. Society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they will never lie in. And that's a kind of a long quote, but just to me, it just says help others even if it doesn't help you. When you can truly provide benefit to someone without any self-motivation, that's what makes humanity great. And I'm not saying I live that every day of my life, but it's something that I try to keep near me at all times.
You mentioned that you started working at a credit union, and at that time you were still uneducated in finance. Go ahead into that, and what really gave you a passion for wanting to learn all those things and become adept?
Well, I would say I was uneducated simply because I wasn't exposed to it a whole lot. It's sad but true that most of the time personal finance is not discussed in the house, or at least not to a large degree. Most parents don't know a whole lot about credit and debts and interest rates and the market. So it's not anything that I learned at home, obviously not at school either. So when I was exposed to all of this stuff at the credit union, I was like, why don't more people know about this stuff? So I just tried to soak up as much information as I could like a sponge. And anyone that I came into contact with through the credit union, I wanted to do my best to help educate them so they can put themselves in a better financial position, right? And even if they're not in a bad financial position, what they can do to avoid ever being put into a negative financial situation, just whatever you could do to make your position stronger through education, through assistance, through, just working yourself out of whatever debt you're in. That's what I wanted to help educate people.
Absolutely. So go ahead into any aha moments you might have had, like a moment of decision where you decided, hey, the YouTube channel is going to take a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of energy. I'm going to do this, and I want to contribute outside of my quote-unquote.
My first aha moment, again, I keep trying to change things from not just one, but two. The first time, even if it was, I can't remember the dollar amount, right? It was beyond negligible. It was next to no money at all. But when you first realize, oh, wow, I can actually, turn this into a sort of like income on the side. Like this could be passive income and something that I do outside of my job. Like that was a real moment of this is so cool. I want to pursue this. I want to take this to the highest level that I'm capable of doing it. That was my first one, right? It personally felt good to me to know that was possible. And second, I always try to educate others as much as possible when it comes to what I know about personal finance. And I helped out a gentleman in New Jersey refinance his car loan, right? It's something really, really simple for me, right? I've done that thousands of times, but to know that I came into contact with this person through a random YouTube video and he trusted me enough to email me and get in touch with me and then enough to listen to my advice. And at the end of all of that, he actually changed his financial position. And I think he saved literally $10,000 worth of interest. He saved himself, $10,000. And again, I've done before at the credit union,
wow.
But it's cheating, right? They're coming to me. It's no big deal. But this is something online, and how weird is that to say that, through a YouTube video, I helped someone refinance a car loan. Right? That was it was insane for me, and it was a really, really positive experience.
Yeah, MJ DeMarco, the author of The Millionaire Fastlane, mentions that as the feedback loop. He mentions that as you're not really excited, or you are excited, then that wears off. But when that feedback loop gets fired and you realize I can actually make money with this, I can make a real contribution to society, and you have a vehicle through YouTube and through other outlets where you can convey trust to viewers and make real relationships with them, not just, that's another thing I do admire about your channel, is that you're very authentic. It's still, even with so many bloggers and everything, yours stands out. It's professional, very authentic, which I admire about your channel. That's definitely a big thing that can encourage an entrepreneur or an up-and-coming individual who realizes they want to work for themselves, or even just have something like a strong passive income through something that can provide over time without too much 9-to-5 work. So would you say you transitioned from struggling to find your purpose to now a strong, structured man of vision through your job with the credit union?
I don't necessarily know that I would credit the credit union with that. I think there was definitely a lot of formative experiences in there. My vision has been with me for quite a few years now, even before I started the credit union, right? I knew that I wanted to make my life what I wanted it to be. I didn't want to have to answer to anyone else. My father is a tile setter, right? That's not some glamorous job that everyone's running out to go become a tile setter, yet he's never answered to anybody in 40 years worth of work, being self-sufficient. So for me, financial independence, freedom of choice, the ability to help others learn more, accomplish more, those have always been things that are part of my vision. Through the credit union, luckily I learned a lot when it comes to finance and money, and that enabled me to educate and help others, which is a part of my vision, but I would say that was independent from my vision that I've created for myself.
Appreciate you sharing some of your story there. Yeah, I have a lot of background in manual labor type jobs as well. I delivered beer all over the southern half of New Jersey for about 4 to 5 years. It was cyclical work in between my time in college.
Is that the Jersey Shore years?
Not quite. Yeah, I was actually delivering to a lot of those spots. I would haul kegs up on the boardwalk, summer sun, and people were out on the beach, and I was like, I am not going to spend my life doing this. And you learn a lot from doing this work. It's a lot of really good life lessons.
Absolutely.
What we're going to do now is go into the Heart Healthy Hustle round. This is going to be a series of rapid-fire questions. All right, so let's begin. Starting with heart. What is your favorite activity for strengthening your heart?
My default answer has to be working out. Right? Anyone that watches me is totally not going to feel like, oh, this guy spends his life in the gym, right? I am not a physical specimen. I'm not imposing or anything like that. But working out, having progress in that realm is all relative, right? I'll never be 6'4", 230, but I can improve me. I can work on hitting records for myself, right? And in working out, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel stronger. Obstacles, seem less intimidating, right? You develop both from a physical standpoint, but also from a character standpoint.
Absolutely. I love that. So let's go into health. How do you maintain your health while living a fast-paced life? So maybe you want to get into how you maintain at least some sort of structure with going into the gym consistently.
Honestly, I would actually say I focus on my health by not living a fast-paced life. Not to say I slow down and everything, but when someone's just grinding, you eventually hit a limit, right? I've totally hit that limit before, and you're just exhausted mentally, physically, toward the point where you cannot do the things that make you happy. So I actually try to force myself to slow down, appreciate the small things in life. That is the gym sometimes. That is slowing down to say, you know what, let me focus on something that's not necessarily career-related or money-related. Let me do this for me. Likewise, when it comes to just health in general, I always try to focus on real foods, putting good fuel inside my body. I don't smoke. I drink, but I don't want to drink that often. So I really just want to make my lifestyle conducive to all the things that I want to do.
Sometimes the gym is just focusing on non-work things, right? I would even go as far as to say sometimes the gym is to focus on absolutely nothing for a set period of time perhaps, but spending some time I had such a hardcore Saturday in terms of work and everything. That's kind of how my Saturday went, and it didn't go as planned, which is life, right? At the end of the day, I just kept telling myself, hey, put on your headphones, sit in that chair, and just give yourself time to think. And I'll tell you what, I put on my noise-canceling headphones, which I highly recommend people pick a pair up, and I sat in the chair and literally did nothing for 30 minutes. And I looked up at the clock. I went and got my computer, and I just journaled for probably 30 minutes to an hour longer, and I looked up at the clock, and an hour and a half had gone by, and I was like, wow, I guess I really did need to just sit down.
One thing that I want to try that I haven't done yet, and I heard this from the Joe Rogan podcast. I listen to his a lot, but he's really big into, do you know what an isolation tank is?
I've heard of isolation tanks, yeah.
So I bet most people probably do know what it is, but if anyone doesn't, it's essentially this pod that you go inside. It's filled with water and thousands of pounds worth of salt, right? To the point where when you lay down, you're pretty much 100% buoyant. You just float, right? And the water's heated up to 98.7 degrees, so it's the same temperature as your skin. It's, soundproof, so you don't hear anything. There's no light in there, so you can't see anything. You're totally deprived of your senses. and it just kind of leaves you 100% alone. There's no connection to anything other than your thoughts and your mind. And I always just hear that it's an amazing thing to hash out anything that you're going through in life. So that's one thing that I should try for my health.
My friend from Australia, he does the videos for Uber Australia and Southeast Asia, talented guy, and he was explaining to me, we were at a trade show together, and he mentioned to me how he was getting excited because in the next couple days he was going to go ahead and experience one of those again, and he's done it before, and he said, you literally feel like you're floating. And I was like, well, what about just going to the pool and floating in the pool? Because I actually do that. My chiropractor advises that. And he was like, well, you can still feel the water, you can still feel your body, you kind of have to float. So apparently in the isolation tanks, you feel absolutely nothing, which I would love to try that sometime. Going on to the third thing will be hustle. So what is your main motivation for hustling to the max of your potential?
I want to surround myself with stories of success and accomplishments. Like it could be monetary related, it could be relationship success in your career, success in your hobbies. Like the point is you're surrounding yourself with like a positive, can-do, encouraging attitude, right? So I'll watch YouTube videos, right, where people are talking about all the things that they've done, right? I'll listen to podcasts where people are interviewed and it's just like, how did you become the person that you are today? And that stuff motivates me. And I think it's such a powerful influence to surround yourself with that stuff. You know, if we all understood the power of thought, we would never have another negative thought again, right? And while it may be impossible to never have a negative thought, you can do your best to at least surround yourself with positivity.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Share with my audience what some things you do to stay in community with other people.
Through my YouTube channel, it's forced me to network more, reach out to more people, try and do things that I wouldn't normally do, right? I don't care about social media. I don't have a Facebook page. I don't have an Instagram account. I have a Twitter account only because of my YouTube channel, and all of this stuff has been a learning experience. So I would advise someone who feels just stuck, try something new, force yourself, right? There's that saying that, you know, you've got your comfortability circle. Well, all the magic happens outside of that circle. So expand yourself, try new things, force yourself to do something uncomfortable, whether it's going to a networking event, whether it's starting your own channel, whether it's, you know, trying a new hobby, whatever it may be. Try something new if you're feeling stuck, because by doing something uncomfortable and exposing yourself to that, you're forcing yourself to grow.
Love that. Share your 3 most influential books and why.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right, by Robert Kiyosaki. It was written forever ago, right, the 90s. And I'm not going to say that all the information that was written back then is pertinent to today, but to me, it's a very, very inspirational book, right? I read it in my early 20s, and it's simple in its viewpoint. It's talking about the lessons that a man learned from his well-educated father who was not that financially successful, and also the lessons he learned from his friend's father who was not very educated, but very financially successful, right? And so it motivated me to, again, build the life that I want. And I don't necessarily have to follow what everyone else does. So it's a book that again, motivates me, encourages me, and it also explains why the standard go to school, get this job, have kids, buy a nice house, buy a nice car, like all of that is not really all that great from a financial perspective. None of that stuff is bad per se, but that's not always going to lead you down the life of financial freedom, right? So that's book number 1. Really, really recommend it. Number 2, not going to lie, I have not read the book. However, I listen to the podcast and I've been a fan of their website since like 2010. It's called Minimalism, Live a Meaningful Life by Ryan Nicodemus and Joshua Millburn. I think minimalism is something that can help everyone, right? In certain areas of your life, from a financial perspective, a lot of people are kind of living paycheck to paycheck because they want to live life maximally, right? They think, oh, if I have this, I'm going to be happy. Or if I go do that, it's going to change my life. You know, I need to buy this, do that. And ultimately, it doesn't lead them anywhere. They're not happier or more content afterwards. So if you actually minimalize all the things that you spend money on and just focus on the things that truly bring lasting contentment to your life, and you're more than likely going to be much, much better emotionally, physically, spiritually, all that fun stuff, but financially as well.
Couldn't agree more. I've recently started applying some minimalism to my own life and just looking around and realizing I'm 100% responsible for my exact position in life at this very moment. And I looked around, you know, I'm not a messy guy. I'm very clean. But it kind of took it to the next level. Like, I just went through my closet and threw out, like, I used to work at J. Crew, and I had, like, thousands of dollars worth of nice clothes, and I just got rid of so much of it. I sold some of it, but a lot of it I just got rid of, like, bags worth. Not only that, but I cleared out drawers. I just got rid of a bunch of things that when I had originally purchased them, it was really because I was excited to attain these material items and kind of out of an insecurity or trying to, like, meet a need. And like you said, it just leaves you where you were. Looking at the items from a different perspective, it kind of shows me that, hey, it's actually kind of weighing me down a little bit.
And Michael, what's the third book?
Millionaire Next Door. I'm actually in the process of reading this, another book that was written in the 90s. And this book, to me, it really illustrates the basics, how far the basics can take you. The premise is that the idea of millionaire in our heads is, oh, wow, some high-powered lawyer or athlete or business executive, CEO, whatever it may be, when in all reality, it's actually not the case. Most of the millionaires in this nation are from people that are entrepreneurs, start their own business, but it could be like a lawn mowing business, or it could be a storage facility business. It's not as complicated as you think. It's just that the basics take you a lot farther than you think. Right? We look at rich people and feel like, oh man, they're rich, therefore they can afford a Ferrari. Whereas it's kind of the opposite. They're rich because they didn't try to buy a Ferrari. It just focuses on how simple things lead to big results. Having a high salary doesn't guarantee that you're going to be financially wealthy. The other side of the coin is that by having maybe an average salary doesn't prevent you from accomplishing great things financially. You just have to be intelligent.
I love that. And that, for anybody wondering, that's written by Dr. Thomas J. Stanley, a wonderful author. Personally, Michael, I've just read that book about 3 months ago, and I read The Millionaire Mind by the same author before reading that one. I can't suggest that one enough, but that one, yes, absolutely. And for anybody wondering, these aren't books that you're like, you hear millionaire and you instantly have all these negative, perhaps not negative. It's not an esoteric look. It's a very practical, subjective analysis of lifestyles lived by real-life, real-world millionaires and people who have become successful, as opposed to short-paced, fast-lived, fast money, things like that. It's actually
absolutely. So I need to check out Millionaire Mind, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, Michael. I mean, I'll tell you what, I loved that book. It really helped me in terms of grasping finances as a whole. I believe it was written after The Millionaire Next Door, only by maybe a year or two. I could be wrong on that.
Well, I'll check it out.
Yes, it was like more or less a research study. But anyway, I could go into so much on that. You had about 60 seconds with your 20-year-old self. What would you tell him to do, and what would you tell him not to do?
I would say, I wrote a few of these down, invest now, even if it's not a lot, right? Investing may seem complicated, but you know what? The service that I used, Wealthfront, was not around when I was 20 years old. Had it have been, it's something that I absolutely should have taken advantage of. Even investing a little bit goes a long way, especially when you start young. Number two, you actually need a lot less than you think you do. The stuff that you think is going to make you happy, maybe it will for a moment, but it has no real lasting value. Don't procrastinate. That's one of my biggest regrets is anything that I'm passionate about. If I'm doing it now, I more than likely started it later than I wanted to. Right? So start today. Whatever it is that you want to do, just start doing it. Right? You'll figure it out. Even if you don't know what you're doing, get started. Be intelligent, with what you do, but try to look at everything as an opportunity. Right? Even if it ends up as a failure, it's still an opportunity to learn. When you succeed, you probably learn something, and when you failed, you probably learned something as well. So just take everything as an opportunity. Lastly, focus on what makes you passionate and content. Don't focus just on the entertaining parts of life. Those are fleeting, moment-to-moment things that aren't reliable. Focus on what makes you absolutely content and passionate.
Great. So you had mentioned briefly success in the interview and how it's not necessarily there is no one definition for it, which I believe is true. I think success is incredibly relative, and
yeah, absolutely.
Each person has to define that, and they define it differently. So one person might think success is money, and then they get money and they realize wow, this actually is empty or whatever. Another person, it might be they really want a Lamborghini, which is cool. They're nice cars. They're fast, but They'll get it, and it's
next.
Well, now I crashed it. How do I handle the insurance? And it's like more money, more problems, and you start to realize what that actually means. So I love that, though. It's something I shy away from ever trying to define in one way, but a definition I felt I aligned with was success is the dedicated pursuit of a worthy goal. Many of us as millennials, especially millennial listeners, a lot of my audience, we're people who we're trying so hard to prove ourselves, and we don't even know what that means or what we're supposed to do. How is that supposed to look? A lot of times it can feel like, because, especially in this day and age of social media, I don't even want to get into that, but the comparison factor is just so toxic. How we all can compare ourselves to the next person who's upgrading their life, so to speak, or they've got a better job, or they get paid way more. Could be your peers, it could be people you know from work, anything.
I don't want to interject here, but in that Millionaire Next Door book, I'm not saying that social media is 100% advertising. It's obviously not, though there is a lot of advertising on there. But when you see anyone, right, even if they're just posting something in their day-to-day life, like they're traveling, they're on a beach, or they're trying new food, it really, in our mind, registers as an advertisement, right? Saying like, oh, you could be doing this, right? And in that book, it says, advertising is the organized creation of dissatisfaction. And so the more we expose ourselves to all these things that we don't have, we're not doing, we're not meeting these people, we're not doing that, right? It's not healthy for us in the long run.
Yeah, it's very much, it's easy to fall into, though. I personally do it at times, and exactly. So I personally consider myself a healthy individual. My mindset is, I have a clear head and things like that, but even still, sometimes it's easy to fall into that. It's a toxic trap. I would just encourage people to stay away from comparison trap, and especially just realize failure is how you look at it. Yes, I would advise having real world experience, and then also once you kind of get a lot of that, you realize like, there's no way I'm ever going to live my entire life doing, X, Y, and Z, whatever it is that you absolutely hate now in terms of maybe a manual labor job, anything. After you realize that, then looking at the entrepreneurial endeavor as something to not be afraid of the failure, because you will fail. You will have, let's say you're selling things, you will have customers return orders, you will have people sue you just because they don't feel like paying for it or they can't. So they'll try to make you out to be a villain, but that shouldn't scare you, right? That has to be something that you're anticipating. Ultimately, those failures aren't really failures as much as those are things that you can learn lessons from and adapt to and become better off of and use as a catalyst for your own personal growth and development in life and level up from each one of those periods of existence in your life.
Very well said.
Cool. So this interview was really fun. I really enjoyed it. Time just flew by. So Michael, go ahead and share with my audience how they can get in touch with you.
Email or my YouTube channel. Both are pretty much the same thing. Common Sense, spelled C-E-N-T-S. See what I did there, right? Common Sense Mike. Really sophisticated stuff there. But YouTube channel, Common Sense Mike, all one word, and then email is just commonsensemike@gmail.com. Again, what I focus on is personal finance and our day-to-day lives. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not going to teach you how to become one overnight. That's not me. But what I want to focus on is making your life as good as it can be for where you're at now and working towards making it better every single day from a financial perspective. Whether it's you've got debt and you're not sure what to do, I'd love to help out. If you're thinking about getting into investing and you're not sure where to start, I can at least give you what I've done and what's worked for me. If you're thinking about saving up for a house or a car and all this stuff that pretty much everyone goes through, that's what I'm here for.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what's next. What's getting up in the morning currently?
Right. You got to have a positive outlook on life, I think. And if you're not happy when you wake up in the morning, I'm not saying that you're a bad person or bad, but find what does make you happy, right? Because every day is just another day to be here. Try and do what makes you happy and create the life that you want to live. And every day that I get an opportunity to do that, it's a good day for me. Again, I appreciate so much you offering this opportunity to me. I think you are far better of a networker than I am. I have so many things I could learn from what you've done through this interview. So thank you again so much. I had a great time.
Thank you for listening to the Heart Healthy Hustle podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, I want to say thank you. And also, I want you to ask yourself why. What about this episode really stood out to you? I want to challenge you to take action on that thing. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd really appreciate your time and consideration to go ahead and leave a helpful review in iTunes. So it really helps the podcast grow and we can impact even more people who need this. Thank you guys for all of your support, and I will see you in the next episode.